In this video, I'm going to go over how you can increase the speed at which you learn new skills, how you can reduce the risk of injury while learning new skills, and even improve your recovery throughout your continued training. Now, if you are a coach, this skill is probably one of the most important things you can develop. This is going to take your game from where it is now to a completely different level and allow you to coach on a bigger scale, not just having to handpick different athletes who are already skilled. This allows you to reach a larger group of people with your coaching and help them to improve their skills at their level. So no longer does somebody have to rise to meet your standards. You're going to be able to meet them exactly where they are and then help them get to a much higher level and go as far as they want to go in whatever sport or activity you're teaching. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when they're trying to learn a new skill is they just keep trying that move over and over and over again. And there's a few reasons why this isn't the most optimal way to train. Number one, it's frustrating. You're doing the same thing over and over again, you're getting the same result, and you're gonna get frustrated. And when you start getting frustrated, you're gonna start trying harder. And when you try harder, you put more power into it, but you don't have more control because you're putting as much as you can into a movement that you don't understand. Over time, it wears you out, and you're likely to get hurt. Moreover, you're gonna develop bad habits. You're gonna start developing muscle memory in a way that doesn't actually help you. And you'd be better off just walking away and thinking about practicing or thinking about what the movement feels like. So if you're trying a skill that's beyond what you can currently do and you do it the wrong way again and again and again, what you're doing is you're creating muscle memory to do it the wrong way. You're actually making it worse, which is why I said earlier, you'd be better off just walking away and thinking about practicing rather than actually doing it. So what's the solution? Drills. A lot of the times people kind of think that drills and exercises are the same thing, that they're just interchangeable. Not exactly, at least not the way that we teach them here. So an exercise can be anything. It can be standing up and sitting down. It can be doing jumping jacks. It can be crawling around on the floor. It can be rolling around on the floor. Lots of those things can be exercise. But a drill serves a very specific function. It is a simulation of a portion of a larger or more complicated movement. So while a drill can be an exercise, it isn't necessarily inherent that all exercises are also drills. For example, if I'm trying to learn how to do a lache, jumping jacks do not help me with that. Even though jumping jacks are great and they're fantastic exercise, they don't directly translate to the skill that I'm trying to learn. However, if during my lache training session, I realize that I just need to develop more power, and as a result, I need to work on my swing, and then I just practice my swing, and then I realize that maybe my swing isn't very good because I'm not very good at identifying whether I'm hollow or whether I'm arched while I'm swinging. So I start practicing hollow holds and arch holds. Well, those are all drills. Think of drills as like Lego blocks that you use to build up to a complete tower or a complete skill or movement. The other advantage of being able to identify and create drills is that you're able to scale your training for yourself or for others in a way that allows more people to participate in your classes. So you and I can both do the same class. I can adjust the workout up or down to the degree that I need to, and you can do the same thing. So let's go over a quick example of a drill and how to kind of identify and create one. Let's say we're over here working on the tilted steps, and I've got people at various levels of experience trying to do this obstacle. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do if I need to create a drill is I'm gonna look at the completed product. What does the entire process look like if I get it all the way through? Okay, so we've seen what doing the steps look like all the way through. Well, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at who my students are and where they're getting stuck. So I might have somebody with no experience and they can successfully get onto the step, but they don't quite have the distance to make that transition. From there, I'm gonna assess the gap. What's the difference between what they did and what I did? Then I'm just going to let them practice the gap. So, hey, Tommy, it looks like you're having trouble with actually getting the momentum that you need to make it to the next step. So all I want you to practice is just swinging your leg in and swinging your leg back out when you touch this. So we're here, you're just gonna practice in, out. Don't worry about the step. Move the other step out of the way, completely remove it. So now we're practicing. My foot's already on. I don't need to practice this part. I've got that down. Tommy's got that down. So all right, Tommy, all I want you to do is go ahead and put your foot on and just practice swinging in and out and seeing how far you can go. Great job, Tommy. Now Ted, on the other hand, Ted has issues with actually getting traction on the step. He just always slides right down. So okay, Ted, all we're gonna do is practice putting on, step up, and down. Don't even take this and swing it in and out and try to go anywhere else. Just step up and down. Then we have Justin, and Justin can't jump. He can't get off the ground and reach the step. So, okay, Justin, all we're gonna work on is going onto our toes. Then we're gonna go onto our toes and lift one foot. Then we're gonna go onto our toes and lift the other foot. And then we're just gonna lift and leave the ground just a little bit. The other thing about this is you're having the students do these drills independently through a circuit. So they're not just waiting for their turn to practice their version of this. They're practicing those drills independently throughout the rest of the circuit and then coming back to put it all together with you coaching them through the process. One of my favorite drills when I have somebody who can't do these steps is to have them practice just stepping up and down. In this way, they're getting comfortable with being on the step, with actually progressing through the movement, and they're not pushing themselves to a degree where they're actually going to get hurt. Now, the conventional approach to training, the common mistake we talked about earlier, will be just keep practicing that over and over and over again until you get it. It's gonna wear you out, it's gonna frustrate you, and you're likely to get hurt over time. Instead, what we can do is break that big move down into 3 to 5 small pieces and practice those pieces independently. So I'm actually giving you a glide kip circuit in this video that you can copy and use in your classes. So let's say you're having your students work on doing a glide kip, which is one of the more complicated movements. I'll give you a quick demonstration of what that looks like. Now, I guarantee if I had a group of 100 people, none had experience in Ninja Warrior or gymnastics or parkour, and I showed them that and asked them all to give it a try, 95% of them would probably do something like this.
So before we can break this down and create drills, the first thing we need to do is understand the individual components that make up this movement. So the first thing I do is as I approach the bar, I stay hollow, keeping my feet in front of my hips. From there, I open up and then snap my feet up toward the bar, shoot my feet upward, and then turn into kind of an upside down seesaw, which allows me to end up on top of the bar.
So if you take a look at that movement and we break it down into different components, you can practice those individually. So the first part you might break down is the approach to the bar. You'll notice, if you watch the video again, I jump to the bar and I don't try to get underneath it. I kind of try to go up and lean toward it rather than being underneath it. From there, you'll notice that I extended my body forward and then I contracted it back into a hollow shape. So drill number 2. The next part of the movement is that I brought my toes up to the bar. So drill number 3. The next one gets a little complicated because it's hard to do while hanging on a bar. The next part of the movement is a candlestick shape as I extend my legs up into the air and I invert. So drill number 4. And the next station is going to be the coaching station where they take all of those drills and they do them in sequence and actually complete the movement with the assistance of the coach. When you use this process of incorporating drills rather than simply practicing the move over and over and over and over and over again, what you've done is you've sped up the learning process because you're giving yourself sort of bite-sized chunks that you can handle as you continue learning the process. You're going to reduce the risk of injury because you're not doing it the wrong way, getting frustrated, and then pushing harder than you need to. And you're going to reduce recovery time because you're not pushing yourself to do something that you're not quite ready for. And if you approach these things as though they're skill-oriented rather than athleticism-oriented, you can kind of find this shortcut toward learning something new without having to be an extreme athlete to do it. The last thing we're going to touch on here, this is really just for advanced coaches or advanced athletes. If you really need some extra help with trying to create a drill or identify what needs to be worked on, maybe you want to incorporate some conditioning into your skills training and you need to figure out what muscles need the conditioning and how they need it. If you're not sure what to work, just identify which muscles in the movement are getting shorter. Muscles do not push, they only pull. So if I'm pushing something, what's actually happening is I'm shortening my triceps, and that's what's causing the push to happen. So whatever muscles are getting shorter, those are the ones that you're using to complete the movement. And if you want to target them with conditioning, you simply simulate that portion of the movement and make that muscle group shorter. So if you want to add some conditioning into your skills training, simply identify what muscles are getting shorter in what stages of the process, and then simulate that. Or do work that's going to shorten those muscles as well. And the last thing I'll throw out on this topic is, during your circuits, it's probably a good idea if everything you're doing is focused on your rectus abdominis and obliques and serratus anterior and chest. If everything you're doing is focused on this side, do some stuff that focuses on the other side. That way your students are getting balanced training. They're not going to end up overdeveloping one side and not the other. So always include 1 or 2 conditioning elements that are focused on the antagonistic muscle or the opposite muscle that's doing most of the work. So if everything you're doing is here, do some arch holds or some Supermans or something like that.
So that's all for today's video, guys. I know it was a little bit of a different style, more focused on coaching, but even if you're not a coach, as an athlete, you are your own coach. So use these principles, use these drills and skills to reduce recovery time, reduce the risk of injury, and improve the speed at which you learn new skills. Anyway, give this video a like, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.